Cowboy Bebop has long since been seen as one of the must-watch anime of all time. And to think that it initially spun out of a request for an anime that would sell toys. That's literally the backstory. But director Shinichiro Watanabe wanted to make something that was a little bit more than that, a little bit more grounded in a bizarre sense of realism that he's always kind of had. A real intense sense of style. The crew of the Bebop is a bunch of misfits, people without a place to belong, people with odd and sordid pasts that just so happen to come upon each other. And the point in time in which we see the events of the series kind of comes about when all these people come aboard the Bebop, and once you get to the end, it's treated more as though this is the natural progression of things. People come aboard the Bebop, they stay for a bit, and eventually they leave in an effort to kind of go and handle their own lives and whatever they might choose to do for the most part. And that really is the big selling point of Cowboy Bebop. The idea of these people with a lot of style, but a lot of baggage, and how they run away from it, the people that they meet, who they impact, and who impact them in certain unforeseen ways, and how they eventually decide to face their demons one way or another, or, in certain cases, continue to run away from those demons. And Cowboy Bebop is one of the few series which I have to watch in the dub. It's just so wonderfully done and solidly realized in terms of the dub that consuming it in any other way just doesn't feel right. Spike, with the vocal stylings of Steve Bloom, has this cool and suave nature to his voice, and yet can still be a little bit silly and bizarre and out there and stressed. But there's always this underlying feeling of cool and calm. A guy who's just got it all put together on the surface, but is a rage of emotions beneath it, just waiting to bubble out in any way, shape, or form. You would think, being a martial artist as skilled as he is, he'd be so much more disciplined than he actually is, but no, that is not the case. Spike is a mess, with a sordid past and a history with the mob, who got into a quote-unquote entanglement with a friend's girl named Julia. He's not portrayed as a perfect and good-natured person. He's a mess below the surface. Jet Black, with the deep baritone vocal stylings of, and I'm gonna slaughter his name, Bo Billingsley. Jet's history as I believe he was either a police officer or a police detective, but the way he was portrayed by one of his partners, ended up losing his arm in the process, and just ended up going through life as a bit of a broken man trying to find some form of purpose in the world, who has had all these encounters with these various people. Jet is very much treated like a man who has just been through it all and has barely managed to come out on the other side, and is just kind of trying to get by in life for the most part. He is definitely the one who keeps the Bebop together, because the Bebop is his, and he welcomes these people into his heart and into his life, despite the fact that he knows deep down they're not going to be around for a long time. Eventually they will leave, eventually they will move on, but if nothing else, the good-natured Jet Black tries his best to at least give them a place to belong for the time being. Faye Valentine, with the absolutely fantastic voice stylings of Wendy Lee, who is such a veteran and in the industry, and an unsung veteran, really. She really brings it to this seductive character who is very much the sex symbol of the series, but at the same time, once you really get to know her history and her past and everything that has gone on with her in her life, it really resonates, this sympathetic angle for the character, who has just been screwed time and time after time, placed in a cryogenic freeze in order to maintain her health as she was treated for this deadly disease, only to wake up in a world that completely took took advantage of her at every possible turn, and she does her best in trying to get back at the world in some way, shape, or form, but it never seems to completely pan out. Faye, despite the fact that a lot of times she brings it upon herself, did not deserve her lot in life, and she's trying her best in order to make the most out of it. And she tries really hard not to really gain any true connections, but time and time again, she gets those connections break and they spiral off, and she's left alone once again. Faye's life is a tragedy in progress, and I will always feel the utmost sympathy for her character. Like, yes, she's sexy, but there's a lot of pain and heartache behind that sexy exterior that really just drives the character forward. And the comedy relief Radical Edward, or Edward Wong Hao Pipelu Tarkovsky IV, with the delightful voice of Melissa Phan, is just so phenomenal as she captures on the weird vocal stylings of Ed. I can't picture another voice for Ed because she does such a magnificent job in just having the sing-songy voice, and it's high, then it's low, and then it's weird, and it's wacky. Ed is just this kind of orphaned genius hacker who is so capable, and yet at the same time it's hard to believe that she even dresses herself. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't dress herself completely. But Ed is the fun heart of the Bebop. And it was the moment that Ed ultimately ended up leaving in order to pursue her dad, who is just as all over the place as she is, if not more so. This scatterbrained ADHD having guy who's hunting down all these parts and stuff that's raining on the sky from Earth, and he could die at any minute, but he's having so much fun he couldn't care. And to see Ed leave, that really did mark the kind of end to the series, as the joy of the cast had just up and left. And not a lot of episodes focused on Ed. Ed was really only good for a lot of the hacking that she did, but at the same time, there was just so much fun to be had with Ed's character that when she left, it really did mark a dramatic shift for the series as a whole. And of course, you have the wonderful Ein, the genius corgi dog who ends up suffering the most from the antics of the crew of the Bebop. Ein definitely needed more episodes, but at the same time, Ein is Ein, and that's all Ein ever needed to be. Adorable and smarter than your average dog. But yes, Cowboy Bebop is one of my all-time favorite anime series, with obvious reasonings behind why, because so many of the character moments are just so fascinating. It asks a lot of deep and philosophical questions that really make you think, give you a little bit of pause, make you feel a little bit of sympathy, a twinge of guilt for what happens to some of these characters. And the ambiguous nature of the way that the series ends, making it seem like these characters may never come together again after this point. It makes a lot of sense with how it brought to a conclusion, and why, beyond a really fantastic movie, whether you want to call it Cowboy Bebop the movie or Knocking on Heaven's Door, it's a fantastic movie with great visuals, a wondrous plot, amazing action. It's the full bag, man. I must have watched the movie more times than I watched the entire series. And the music. Just Yoko Kanno brought a styling to the series that really kind of surpassed a lot of her other works. Like, this woman has done fantastic compositions for the likes of Darker Than Black, Macross Plus, Visions of Escaflowne. Dude, Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. I love the music in that series. She has this melodic yet somber tone that she gives to a lot of the works that she's put out there. And if nothing else for the live action Cowboy Bebop, the fact that she's working there as well, while I'm not too confident in the live action Cowboy Bebop, the fact that they still have Yoko Kanno on as well, I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to give it a shot, if only to hear more of her music. She hasn't done too much in recent years, and I really just need it. I really need it. I mean, I listen to the soundtrack every once in a while because it does so much. Her and the Seatbelts just really did so much to create a style of music all their own. And the fact that they decided to come back for something like this, there's gotta be some value to it. So let me know your thoughts on Cowboy Bebop in the comment section below. How do you feel about the series? How did it impact you? How did you feel about it? Is it one of your favorites of all time? Or did you let it pass you by? If you did, please check it out. You won't be sorry you did. And if you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notification. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.